Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and I hope you're having a great start to the week. If you're tuning in the day this episode is scheduled to go live, it is a Monday, the first Monday of February. So I hope you're setting your fitness goals like you mean it. I hope I was able to enjoy a fitness class with you on Friday, but if you missed that, I want to remind you about this fun thing we're doing over at my fitness company, Fit Armadillo. It's called First Friday Fitness Classes, and what we'll do is offer a class the first Friday of every month that will be free for first-timers. Yes, free, just you and up to 10 other participants joining us for a live online group fitness class. So it's provided over two-way video chat, so I'll be able to see you, you'll be able to see me, so I can give you feedback on your form. If you wish, you don't have to share your video screen, that's totally up to you, but you'll be able to see me during the class as well. So I'm really excited to bring what we do on a day-to-day basis at my fitness company, Fit Armadillo, to more of you through these classes. So whether you joined us on Friday last week or not, head on over to fitarmadillo.com/classes to complete the survey there so that you can help me decide on the best time for next month's First Friday fitness class, which will be held on March 1st, 2019. I'm excited to get more of you trying out our classes and hope you'll be able to join us. All right, so today's guest is someone pretty amazing. It's Stephanie Blozy, the store owner of the Fleet Feet shoe store in West Hartford, Connecticut. West Hartford is my hometown, and some of my first running shoes came from the Fleet Feet store. So I'm really excited to have Stephanie on as a guest today. This episode was actually broken up into two segments. Today, Stephanie's going to share her personal running story with you, and then tomorrow she's going to share some tips from her own running journey and also from working with runners at the Fleet Feet store over the past few years. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Stephanie. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm excited to be here.
So you're the owner of Fleet Feet in West Hartford, that's where I grew up, and that's one of the first places I went to get my running shoes, probably shortly after you guys opened, because when did you guys open the store?
So officially the store opened in 1997, but I took over as owner in 2008.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say, maybe I must not have met you back then, because
It's definitely it's been a while. I always hear those stats of businesses, 80% fail in the first 5 years. And I'm like, all right, I think I'm going to make it. I'm at year 11.
Yeah, no, you're making it. I love it. So, you open the store, but the business part's not really, I don't think, your main background, right? Because I do know a little bit about your background before and why you'd want to start that running store, more the fact that you were a runner. So I don't know if you want to share your running journey, because I love it, with our listeners.
Sure. I have a really, kind of crazy way of how I got to be a running store owner, especially since my undergraduate degree is in meteorology, and I did a meteorologist for a while, and I love that job, but sort of a rebirth into running completely changed my whole outlook and dreams and goals, and I decided to make a big change in life. So I kind of had a midlife crisis at 35. But we can go back to when I was 5 years old. I did my first running race, and it was back in the 70s. And my dad was a big runner. And I remember going to races with him. And back in the early 70s, there were no fancy shoes or singlets and split shorts. Literally, he ran in Converse high tops, cut off jeans, and a belt. He literally had his cut off jean shorts belted to him. But he would always do local running races. And some of them had little races for kids. And some of them just had what was called a fun run. So, back in the 70s, if you ran less than a 9-minute mile, you were just considered a fun runner versus, you had to be pretty fast to run in the big race. So I got to do some of the little fun runs after the race with my dad. And I remember I was 5, and I remember sprinting across the finish line and hearing the announcer say that I beat this local radio DJ. Her name was Shelly Bamberger. And I was like, oh my God, I beat a celebrity. And I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And I just remember like that feeling of running, and it just felt like the wind was at my back, and it was like everything was good. And from that moment, I just remembered I wanted to be a runner like my dad. And so all through like grade school, I would run to school every day, and I would, try to take such big strides that I wouldn't touch the lines in the sidewalk. And my mother would always dress me in a dress and little patent leather shoes and ruffled socks, and I would still run to school in my patent leather shoes.
I love it.
It was minimal running before it was considered minimal running. I ran in middle school. I ran for our local cross country team in high school. I joined the high school or the college cross country team at St. Louis University. We started a club team.
Oh, cool.
I realized that running for a university was a lot like running as a job.
Yeah.
And it kind of lost its fun. So I joined the soccer team instead. So I could run and have fun. So I did kind of detour a little bit from running in college. And like most people, when they go away to college, I gained the freshman 15.
Sure.
Yeah. And when I finally graduated from college, I moved to Atlanta, and I was like, what the heck? I'm like, I got to do something to get in shape. I'm sitting at a desk all day, and I was like, you know what? I love running. Like, I'm going to go and be a runner again. I really got back into running, met a lot of cool people through the Atlanta running scene. But then in 1995, I was diagnosed with lupus. And in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of medical research about exercise and autoimmune diseases or any type of a kind of a chronic disease. And so my doctors actually told me to stop running. They were like, you know what? You really need to save your energy to fight the disease, and don't tax your body any more than you need to be. So you should just like really calm down. You can go for a walk every now and then, but don't overdo it. And I remember like being devastated by that news.
Oh, yeah.
So then the news that I had lupus.
Sounds like a runner.
Exactly. Yeah. Whenever you're injured, you're more pissed at your injury than you are at being, that damage to your body.
Hi, friends. If you're joining us and going for an out and back walk and only have 15 minutes, that sound was your halfway point reminder. You'll want to turn around now. All right, back to our conversation.
That was kind of a big shock to me, but
yeah,
I have an older brother and a younger sister, and they both started to run a lot more. And my dad was still running, and he was running a couple marathons a year. And so my dad and my brother and my sister both started running marathons with my dad. And I would go and cheer them on. And I was so jealous of them being able to like run with my dad, and like jealous that they got to do a marathon. And I was always like, I was the runner of the family. Why can't I run? And about 1997, 98, my sister was like, you know what? They're doing more and more research that says that like running is okay. For people that have a disease. It actually might be a good thing. And actually, I think it was more like 2002. So it had been like 5 to 7 years that I had stopped running. And I remember going to like support groups, and they were great for me mentally, but like physically I'd look around and just see all these women that they just had no muscle tone to their body, and like everything hurt, and they were always complaining. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be like that. So when my sister was like, no, I think that like doing a little bit of running is good for you. And I found a new rheumatologist who was like, yeah, exercise is showing great results for people with chronic disease. I think you should give it a try. I don't think he had a marathon in mind. But I told my sister I wanted to run the Marine Corps marathon with her and my dad. And so it was like May, and it was, I think, 30 weeks away from the marathon. I'm like, all right, I've got 30 weeks to get in shape. And literally I hadn't run for more than 5 years. And
wow,
have to start at the very beginning of running again. And I remember lacing on my shoes with my sister. We went out for our first run, and I literally made it like 1.5 miles before I had to walk back home. I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired. What has happened to me? But I learned really the value of running and walking. Usually every 8 to minutes. We would walk for a minute or two. And my sister was amazing. She was my baby sister. But she kind of became the older sister for a while.
Aww.
And yeah, she led me through training. And every week we would increase by a little bit. There's a running called train in the twos, which is that you're running too fast, too much, too soon. So she was really good about making sure I didn't train in the twos. And, we started with like a mile that first weekend. And then the next weekend we went, 1.5 miles, and we never increased by more than a mile. And slowly our runs, went to 6 miles. And I remember celebrating like, oh my gosh, I have to count miles on 2 hands now. And our first 10-mile run, like double digits. And then 11, I'm like, I need 2 hands and 1 toe to count my miles. And every weekend she would give me a gift after we finished our long run, including when our long run was just 3 or 4 miles. And it would be something running related. So socks, a hat, shorts, a singlet, a cute shirt, just something to keep me focused on running and to grow my running wardrobe because I had nothing.
Sure.
And I will run for gifts any day. So it totally gave me like the momentum and the motivation and the courage to like go, because I knew that there was something for me at the finish line. And slowly we built up our runs, and sure enough, in October of 2002, I think 2004, it's been so long now. I did finish the Marine Corps Marathon with my dad and my sister by my side, and
awesome.
Definitely one of my favorite memories. And when I looked back on it, I was like, wow, during the training I didn't have any flares of my lupus. Usually like the first mile and a half, I would feel pretty crappy, just like my muscles and my bones would just ache. But once I got through that, like I just felt normal again. Like I felt like I was me. And that was the one thing I found, that, when I didn't have running and I wasn't like, I felt like lupus was controlling me, but by starting to run, I gained control of me back, and I found me. And that was so powerful and impactful to me that, I had been a meteorologist now for almost 15 years. And I was like, I love my job, but I'm not changing the world. Like, I want other people to know that running can change their life. And so one New Year's Eve, my sister and I are just sitting around after the ball dropped, after having drunk a bottle of wine and probably eaten a pound of M&Ms. And we're like, what our life? Like, what's next? And I was like, I should open a running store. And oddly, she agreed. And I wasn't quite expecting that. And I thought, the next day that maybe like we were just drunk. It was drunk up. And no, she was like, wow, so I was up all night, like researching running store options. And I really think we should franchise because we don't know what we're doing. And there's this great franchise called Fleet Feet. And it looks like they offer a lot of help, and, they look pretty sound financially. And so sure enough, like we looked into it, and I put in the application and we were approved. And my parents had moved from Ohio to Hartford, Connecticut to be closer to my brother who lived in Brooklyn, because he's got 3 grandchildren. And oddly or coincidentally enough, the Fleet Feet store in West Hartford, Connecticut, literally 1.5 miles from my parents' house, was for sale. And so we ended up buying the store. I got my master's degree in exercise science so that I could know a little bit more about biomechanics and how the human body works and all that stuff. And we took over the store in June of 2008. And so now we're 10 and a half years in. And, I always tell people I really don't have to work at all because I get to do my dream every day. And that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I absolutely love your story, Stephanie. And you've gone on beyond even doing the marathon, right, too? Even with all your...
Yeah. So I kept going and going. And, I'm always up for another challenge. And a friend of mine threw out the idea of let's do a 50K. And I was like, all right, sure. And what I didn't realize is that most 50Ks were on the trail as opposed to road. So I became a pretty dedicated trail runner, and I would choose trail over road any day because the scenery is better.
Yeah.
The dirty little secret of trail running is that you always go a minute to a minute and a half per mile slower than on the road. So it's much more relaxing. Totally fell in love with it. And I will tell you, the 50K race is easier than any marathon I've ever done. It was just, I don't know, it's the best way to run. So I am a big fan of ultra marathons. And, what I love about an ultra race is that, like, in the middle of the race is going on, and I was running with my friend, and she hit a stop to use the woods. And she goes around a tree, and I'm just kind of like hanging on, by the trail, I'm breathing deep because we're tired from running. And this guy like comes and he stops, and he's in the race. And I realized later that he was winning the race. And he literally stopped and was like, "Hey, are you okay? Everything good?" And I'm like, when would that ever happen in a road race?
Right.
People would stop because some peon in the back of the pack and be like, "Everything good?" But I think that's just like trail runners are so friendly and conscientious about other people. And it's just a different thing. So even though you're competing, you're also there. It's a bigger community event. And I love that. So yeah, trail running. And then it got to the point where I realized that as a runner, I'd sort of lost a lot of upper body strength and mobility. I could barely touch my toes. And so about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to learn to touch my toes and do a pull-up again. And I joined a CrossFit gym and have been super amazed at how fit cross training and especially strength training allows you to be. And as an example of that, we did an experiment. CrossFit coach offered to coach a group of us to run a half marathon. And you're like, and he's a big weightlifting coach. I was like, what does a weightlifter know about running? But he's like, just trust me. And so he devised this training plan for us. And it was, you run 2 to 3 days a week and you cross train with him 3 days a week. And the cross training workouts, like literally some of them were 10-minute workouts on a bike or on a rowing machine with a little bit of weights thrown in. And like no workout was ever longer than an hour. The furthest run we did, he said all we needed to go was 9 miles, but I kind of felt uncomfortable doing a half marathon. So I went 12.
Yeah.
And that week I only did a 12-mile run. So my highest mileage week in training was a 12-mile run.
Oh, wow.
And I PR'd my half marathon by almost 5 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
Crazy. So I learned the value of, you know what, you don't even have to run a ton to get really fast. Like you can do strength training and running. Literally, I was running 2 days a week, like a 3 mile and a 5 mile or a 7 mile run. And you can still race distances. So, super intrigued now by the whole concept of strength training. And the US government actually did come out this year and say that, yes, you need, 30 to 50 minutes of exercise 3 to 5 days a week, but 2 days a week, you really do need strength training. And that'll make you more fitter all the way around. So that's kind of my thing now, is trying to convince runners to like give up 2 days a week of running and do a different type of exercise, whether it's a spin class or a boot camp class. Lifting weights is always a great thing. And we're not talking like big bro sesh, drives. We're talking like whether it's kettlebell swings with a 15-pound kettlebell, but just something where you're using weight. And it's amazing how much stronger of a runner it will make you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always good I think as runners, we tend to get in that bubble. We love running and we just want to keep running all the time with any extra time we have. But you're right.
Yeah.
It's important.
And I will say, like, sometimes from a running standpoint, I need to go for a run for a mental head case reason. But really, if you're looking like to be a performance runner and to get faster, running more isn't necessarily always the answer.
Yeah, sure. No, sure. Well, I just have to say too, I mean, I'm super surprised, and I forget, I had another guest on, Denise Winner, who runs, or I guess she hosts these fun runs for us here in Southern California called Conquer Our Run. And she was diagnosed with lupus and had a similar, kind of story of, being told maybe not to be so active. And, it's not even that long ago that this has been the change in the fact that you could actually be active and it's okay. So it's interesting how things change.
It's amazing. We've got 2 ladies that run with us here at the store that both ran and like trained while they were going through chemotherapy for cancer. And you just think, even something like that where, long ago they're like, don't do anything, like don't work, don't. And both of them were like, you know what, I need to run. Almost like I've got a friend that's, pregnant and she's still running with the approval of her doctor. It's not necessarily like if your body and you like take it easy and listen to your body, running is not a bad thing. It can actually make things better for you in the end.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. I've had clients, who are pregnant and they weren't sure, especially because you get a lot of that feedback that you're not supposed to do that. But if you've already been running, it definitely shouldn't be a problem. And like you said too, always listen to your body. But yeah, definitely not the recommendation we would have gotten, not too long ago. So.
Well, even you think of when Catherine Schweitzer, first ran the Boston Marathon, when she bandited it and they were like, you can't do it. Your uterus is going to fall out.
Right.
How antiquated thinking and how quickly times have changed. And thankfully they have, because I think running makes the world a much happier place.
I know. I couldn't agree more. Friends, it's Catherine, your host, and I'm cutting my conversation with Stephanie short for us here because my next question was about running tips, and Stephanie has many of those from all of her personal experience and from working with those individuals who come and visit Fleet Feet West Hartford. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on your reminder to check that episode out tomorrow. And if you're in West Hartford or near West Hartford, go check out the running shoe store. I have been going to Fleet Feet for a while, and I even stopped there back in September with an issue before I ran my marathon where I got my PR. So I did leave a review on Fleet Feet's Facebook page about that if you want to see more about my experience with one of their amazing staff members. But can't recommend the store enough and can't wait to share the rest of this conversation with you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.